Guys, all right, we have a 3-round mock draft today, so stay tuned.
Fantasy football, you dealing with the best. Keep it hype, authentic, this ain't nothing like the rest. With the Armchair Fantasy Show podcast, give advice for all the listeners to improve your stats. Yeah, we live on goingfor2.com. Tuesdays and Fridays, this is what you want. Talking dynasties and daily drafts, and we just getting started, that ain't even the half. Yeah, so go ahead, tell your friends to join. Going for 2, cause no one remembers the extra point. Hey, goingfor2.com, the Armchair Fantasy Show.
What is going on, guys? All right, welcome to episode 142 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. Presented as always by goingfor2.com, and we are live every Tuesday night on Facebook Live, Periscope, and YouTube. Syndicated in all your major podcast networks, of course, streaming in the Going for 2 app for iOS and Android. We have a full house tonight. We'll kick it off here with my co-host, of course, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. Ryan, how you doing tonight, man?
Fantastic. Now that we got the pre-show technical difficulties done.
It wouldn't be a show without him, man. We got to have him at least once in a while.
Once a week, yeah.
Yep.
And we're a week and a day away, man. A week and 2 days away.
Yep, yes, sir.
From the big show, so I'm excited.
Yep, I'm excited, too. We get some actual real sports. I mean, I don't know if any of y'all are DFS players, but DraftKings has been doing these simulations with Madden and stuff, and it's just not the same to play DFS with Madden. So I'm looking forward to some real live stuff that we can actually talk about for once. So looking forward to it. All right, let's meet the rest of the panel for tonight. We've got a couple guys here from the Dynasty Draft Room. We'll kick it off with Mr. Matt Hicks. Matt, how you doing tonight, man?
What's up, Jeff, man? I'm going to just reiterate Ryan's sentiments, man. We are closing in on the NFL draft. I'm hyped for it. And by the way, I've seen you guys have been dropping some League of Legends DFS articles as well, which I appreciate too. So I like that. Yeah,
we got it. A sign of the times. I didn't have much DFS content to put out. I had a writer that played it. I was like, hey, man, are you comfortable enough to write it? He's like, absolutely. And he's been cranking out articles every day. So it's been pretty awesome for us. So. Yeah, good stuff. All right, also joining us from the Dynasty Draft Room, it's his first time on the show, Mr. Eric Adams. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, guys. I'm ready to be the first person to take a mock draft.
Oh, my gosh.
Dude, I'm so tired. After 2 nights in a row on a podcast with you, I'm tired of you tight ends.
All right, good stuff. Also joining us from the Dynasty Draft Room, he's been on here a couple times before, Mr. Zack Thomas. Zack, how you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing good, Jeff. Hey, thanks for having me on, man. And I'm excited to talk some ball, talk some NFL draft, and get into these rookies here, man. It's gonna be a fun show.
I know. Last time you were on here, we were talking about these rookies, and I know you're always a year ahead, so you're probably thinking about the 2021 draft already.
Yeah, I got the databases already set up for 2021, so we're good to go there.
Good stuff. And also joining us from the Going for 2 team, he's been on a couple times as well, Mr. Tyler Makins, man. How you doing tonight, Tyler?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good. Glad to have you back on the show.
Glad to be on tonight. Probably going to be the first one to take a quarterback tonight.
All right, good stuff. All right. So let's go real quick. The premise of this, we're basically going to be using a 7-round mock from the Dynasty Draft Room that Zack did. So we're going to use that 7-round NFL mock draft and sort of treat it like gospel. We're basically going to think that that's, the spots that they landed at is where they're actually going to be landing at, and we're going to draft a 3-round rookie mock draft based on that mock draft. We're going to do 3 rounds. It's going to be a single quarterback league. PPR, pretty much a standard, PPR dynasty league. And we're just going to go, pick by pick through the first 3 rounds here, and hopefully gives you some good analysis to break it down, get you ready for your rookie drafts coming up in hopefully May. Before we get to that, though, real quick, I did want to touch on a few news and notes. Let's go ahead and hit that real quick.
News and notes from around the league.
So I just want to go around the room and get your thoughts on a few different things before we get into the actual draft here. I just want your thoughts, just kind of how you think this virtual NFL draft is going to go. Are you looking forward to it? Do you think it's going to be pulled off well? Do you think there'll be issues with it? Ryan, we'll go to you first on this. What are your thoughts on this NFL virtual draft?
I'm not too worried about it going wrong. I think we could see some delays and maybe some picks that may surprise us. I don't know how good their communication is going to be between teams, and especially if a pick goes unexpectedly ahead of them.
Right.
It may either have them rushing or doing the opposite. So I'm excited to see how that was. And I'm a little concerned about trading. But other than that, I think it'll be pretty normalish.
All right, good stuff. And Ryan, I hate to tell you this, but your camera's frozen again.
And are my hands in the air like I just don't care?
Yes, pretty much. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Audio's coming in clear, but your video is frozen. Matt, let's get your thoughts on this. What are your thoughts on this this virtual NFL draft?
Yeah, man, I got two thoughts that jump out to me. First and foremost, I want to see what Roger Goodell's house looks like, because we know that man makes stacks,
Beautiful.
right? So I feel like, he's going to roll out. He's going to put a Ferrari behind him or something like that, just because this is the one time he can't get booed by the fans. And I'm also really looking forward at some point. I assume I'm going to see David Gettleman's forehead, like when you call your grandpa on FaceTime. So I'm assuming that's going to happen at some point as well. So I'm looking forward to those two things.
Good stuff. I love it. Eric, what are your thoughts on this virtual draft?
I think it's going to be a complete crapshoot. Terrible. It's going to go horribly wrong. We'll get halfway through round one. Somebody's stream will get hacked. The Patriots will get blamed. I'm ready for all of it. Feed it to me.
There we go. That actually might be must-see TV right there, just to have a little bit of chaos. It might be a good 30 for 30 in a few years from now. So good stuff.
Yep.
Tyler, we'll go to you next, man. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I think I side with Eric more so than anybody. It's going to be potentially a mess. I don't know. All these coaches kind of run their own thing. I'm not sure how the technology is going to come across. There's going to be some errors and Wi-Fi disconnections, and
it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Just a big cluster.
Come on, man. We need the positivity in here.
All right, Zach, give us your thoughts real quick, and then we'll get into this draft.
Yeah, I think it would be fine for the fans watching, guys like us just watching it and whatnot and talking about it. But I think it's going to be a huge struggle for teams. I think it's just going to cause a lot of issues that we don't get to see from behind the scenes. So I don't think we got to worry about it from like a fan point.
Yeah, I think it's going to be kind of interesting. It'll be cool to kind of see, because this is kind of how a lot of us do our NFL, our fantasy football drafts. We're doing these. If the one guy that can't make it, you're going to Skype with that one guy and try to get him to make his pick, and you're texting him like you're almost up. It's going to be interesting to kind of see how they pull this thing off. Hopefully they do a good job of pulling it off, because I'm excited about this draft, more so than I've been in a draft in recent memory. And I can't wait to get it started, man. I just been waiting for this. Obviously everybody's quarantined. We got no sports. This is the only thing we really got to sort of look forward to. I think it's going to be highly rated. Everyone's going to pretty much be watching, so hopefully the NFL is able to pull it off for sure. All right, let's go ahead and get to this draft here. But before we do that, I just got to plug something really quick. We got two things that are going for two right now. We have our NFL draft contest. It's basically, if you've played DFS, it's very similar to DFS. You draft a bunch of prospects to fill your team out. Quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex spot. And then based on where they get drafted in the NFL draft is where you earn fantasy points. So if they go really high in the draft, you get more points. And then you're competing against other players. We're doing 50% of that's going to charity. So if you're interested in that, just DM me on Twitter, on Facebook, however you get a hold of me, just, send me a message and I'll send you the email to get you the Excel sheet. It's a really cool contest. We have about 30 lineups signed up currently. It's $5 for a lineup, so if you want to get in this, it's like I said, it's 50% for charity. The rest of it goes to the winner. It's going to be a fun thing to kind of do for the NFL draft. And then we also have our Draft Pack 20, our hashtag Draft Pack 20 contest on Twitter. So if you are on Twitter and you use hashtag Draft Pack 20 at any time between now and the draft, you will be entered to win a bunch of cool prizes. We got a fantasy football championship belt. We got subscriptions to DLF. We got subscriptions to Fantasy Pros. We got championship footballs to give away. We've got T-shirts from RotoWear. So we got some really cool stuff. So if you're on Twitter, from now until up to the draft, the cutoff date will be the 23rd. Use hashtag DraftPack20 on Twitter, and you'll be entered to win. All right, let's go ahead and kick it off here. Round one, in pick number one. I usually give it to the guests here, and we got 3 guests tonight, so I had to kind of flip a coin. And we're gonna go with Matt. Matt, you got the 101 here. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, well, Jeff, I mean, the important thing to keep in mind here is that we're taking landing spots into consideration. So I got to be honest, you gave me plenty of time to think about it, but I'm still torn here. I'll work you through my thinking. There's 3 guys that I'm debating with this 101. You got CeeDee Lamb, who Zack put to the Jags. I love CeeDee Lamb. I don't love that landing spot. I don't hate it. DeAndre Swift is my running back 1. He's got him to the Dolphins. That's a high workload, but obviously a terrible offensive line there. Then he's got J.K. Dobbins to the Chiefs. J.K. Dobbins is my running back 2. That's a really sexy landing spot right there. Oh, man, I got to stay on brand, though. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 1. He's my favorite player in this draft. He wins before the catch. He wins after the catch. He's an absolute athlete, absolute freak, game changer. He's been my wide receiver 1 since July, and I'm not backing down from him now. So I'll take CeeDee Lamb with 101 here, even with that landing spot that I don't love.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's kind of the big thing there, having going to the Jags. Last year, we kind of had this happen with A.J. Brown, where he went to the Tennessee Titans, and everybody kind of passed on him. He slipped a little bit, and then, of course, he had a great rookie season. So I think going with CeeDee Lamb, sticking to your guns is a good way to go about it, because I think talent's going to prevail eventually. Maybe he's not great his first year, but I think eventually that Jags offense will get it put together, and I think he will be a great pick. So CeeDee Lamb's also my wide receiver 1 as well, so love that pick. Ryan, at the 102, man, what you got for me?
I'm torn between running backs there, but weirdly, I think I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor still. I know Austin Eckler got paid, and that's fine, but Austin Eckler has a very specific role in that offense. Is mainly a pass catcher, and we've seen for years him in that split backfield where Melvin Gordon got all the red zone carries, most of the rushing work, and passes here or there, and that's a role Jonathan Taylor fills. But I think he's a far more talented running back than Melvin Gordon was and is, and I think he could just thrive in that offense. They should be able to score a lot of points no matter who the QB is because of the weapons, which will give him a ton of red zone opportunities and upside there. So I'm going with him. I think he's a safe pick. Could miss on a little upside with DeAndre Swift's receiving ability in Miami, but I think Taylor gives you instant starting talent.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one, too. I think he's got a great landing spot there. I think even with Eckler, of course, drafted to the Chargers in this mock draft in the second round, top of the second round, he went to the Chargers, and I think that 1-2 punch is not going to kill their fantasy value. It may actually help their fantasy value because everyone's kind of worried about Taylor's workload in college. With Eckler there, that workload will be a little bit lesser, and he can be more efficient with his carries. So I agree. I think that's a great place to go. I think that offense will be pretty good. So, yeah, I like that landing spot as well. All right, moving to the 103, Zach. That's you. What you got for the 103?
All right, man. First, I just want to say, with the NFL draft, you're never going to be satisfied with every single pick that these guys make for your fantasy teams. It's always going to be, oh man, this is a terrible landing spot for a guy like DeAndre Swift or whoever these top guys are, and they end up falling down some draft boards and whatnot. So here, if I'm drafting at the 103, my team obviously wasn't the greatest unless you're a better team that traded up or whatnot. So I'm probably looking at, trying to get one of these running backs because I really don't think this running back class is as deep as the wide receivers. I definitely would think about going Judy here. But right now I'm looking at DeAndre Swift to the Dolphins at 31. And then J.K. Dobbins to the Chiefs is also a really sexy pick too. But again, I'm drafting at 103. I'm probably not the best team in my league right now. So I'm going to go with my top overall back, and that is DeAndre Swift, who ended up landing at the Dolphins here.
All right, good stuff there. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, I thought with that landing spot, he might go a little bit sooner than he has. But he's still kind of slipping down there. We're now at the 104, and he's still on the board. Tyler, we'll go to you at the 104, man. Are you taking J.K. Dobbins, or are you going a different direction?
I'm going to go ahead and pull Dobbins off the board here. He's my number 3 running back, not considering landing spots, but landing in Kansas City on a high-powered offense could very easily be the running back 1 in this class. So I think I'm getting a steal here at number 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great landing spot. And J.K. Dobbins, if he does actually land with the Chiefs, I think he will jump up in a lot of draft boards for sure. That's a great landing spot. All right, Eric, we're going to you for the 105, and this is kind of the pivot spot right here. I think the top 5 are pretty much set in stone for most mocks that we've done. So where you go here at 5 is determine where I go at 6. So give me your 105.
If I can get Jerry Jeudy at 105, I'm going to do a backflip. I don't really care for the landing spot with the Raiders. I really hope that the Raiders realize that Mariota and Carr aren't the answer this year, and they're in the market for Fields or Lawrence or just anybody else next year. But I believe in Jerry Jeudy as a player. I think he's a really good player, so I'll take him at 105.
All right, yeah, I love that. I think the top 5 is pretty much a consensus right now, even depending on landing spots, obviously. But I think everywhere you look, these are the top 5 guys that might have them in different orders, but I think this is how they will fall. So now I'm up at the 106, and I've always had a hard time mocking and hosting at the same time. So I'm looking at some of these landing spots right now, trying to figure out who I want to go with. I think I want to go. Typically in my rookie drafts, I go with the running backs. If there's an equal amount of running backs and receivers, I'll lean running backs just because the way I build my dynasty teams in the startups, I usually draft the receivers early, get some good guys that are going to last for years, and then in the rookie drafts, I get my running backs. So with that said, the best one on the board right now, and a pretty decent landing spot as well, Cam Akers going to the Bills, I think is a good landing spot. Now we do have Singletary there as well, so they may split some carries, but I think Cam Akers, his receiving ability, his running ability, with that offense, the way that it is, the way that it's kind of built around the run and the quarterback there, I think Cam Akers is a great landing spot. The Bills is a great landing spot for Cam Akers, so give me Cam Akers at the 106. All right, Matt, we are back to you at the 107. What you got for me?
Jeff, you had me on the hook, man, because leading up to that pick, I thought you were going to give the name of the guy that I had been locked in here. I think he probably has the best landing spot for a running back, the best realistic landing spot for a running back in this draft. We have him here with the Atlanta Falcons. That's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. This is a guy that I think is not totally dependent on landing spot, but I don't love him at 107 unless he's in a good landing spot. Behind that Falcons offensive line, Edwards-Helaire, man, he's a compact runner. He's physical. Todd Gurley doesn't scare me. Gurley has a year max there in Atlanta. So I think Edwards-Helaire can split that work in 2020 and take over in 2021. So at 107, if Edwards-Helaire is in Atlanta, dude, that's a home run pick right there.
Yeah, that's a good call. I actually looked at him and was kind of bouncing back and forth to him and Cam Akers, and I went with Cam Akers based on just my board. Obviously landing spot is going to be sort of dependent on where they go, but I didn't think the Bills' landing spot was that bad that I was going to put Edwards-Helaire over Akers on my board, so that's why I went with Akers there. All right, we are up at the 108, and Ryan, in only audio right now. Ryan, we're going to you at the 108.
I'm taking probably my favorite receiver in the draft right now. That's Justin Jefferson to the Vikings. I think it's a home run spot for him. He is a high-volume receiver. He can work underneath. He has the best hands in the draft. He can do a lot of what we saw Diggs do on those sorts of routes. He has enough speed to work the outside. And that team just has one receiver. He has a very quick path to being the man there, especially with Thielen getting a little bit older. And he can take a little side roll to him. I think he can see a ton of volume out of the slot and on the outside of Minnesota.
Yeah, I love that pick there, and I think Justin Jefferson's probably going to go in this spot in most rookie drafts as well, regardless of where he lands. But I think that's a pretty good landing spot for him. So Justin Jefferson, great pick at the 108. At the 109, Zach, we are back to you, man. What you got for 109?
I'm debating between two wide receivers right now. Henry Ruggs hasn't been taken yet, has he?
He has not.
No.
So I'm trying to debate between him and one other guy, but I think I'm going to take him here. But just based off draft capital, I'm putting him over this guy. The other guy will not mention yet, but give me Ruggs to Denver. I think he complements Cortland Sutton really well. I think you can kind of see him being that Emmanuel Sanders type of receiver in Denver like he had with Demaryius Thomas and whatnot. So I do like that pairing. I think that dynamic is going to be very, very solid, especially with the young gunslinger Drew Lock, who's going to be chucking the ball deep to Ruggs as well. So I like the fit in Denver for Ruggs. He went 15. Personally, I think that's a little early, but I think that is where he ends up going. Personally, that's why I ended up mocking him here. But yeah, give me Ruggs here at the, what am I at, the 108, 109?
109.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I like that spot for him.
All right, let me ask you because I kind of heard some different things on Ruggs, and I want to get your thoughts on it. So, I've heard that he's going to be sort of a that big play guy, but he might not be that consistent fantasy player. He might be a better NFL piece than a fantasy piece. What are your thoughts on that, Zach? Do you think Ruggs can be a complete receiver?
No, I 100% agree with that. He's probably going to be a better NFL receiver than he is a fantasy receiver. I'm taking the chance on him being that guy that's going to make these big plays, game in and game out. He might have 3 receptions for 100 yards and a touchdown, but the volume's not there. But he's putting up numbers for you, and that's kind of what I'm going to be banking on. I mean, personally, he's my wide receiver 5, I believe, is what it is. He reminds me of that Santana Moss type of player that can really burn you deep and make some big plays. So I'm relying on the upside of him, kind of just producing at a high, not a high volume, but someone that's going to be able to put up big numbers, with the less amount of targets or less amount of volume.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I think Ruggs is that complement to if you've got some solid guys that are consistent week in and week out, he can be a good receiver 3 to give you that high ceiling, especially if you're going up against a team in your league that's one of the top teams and you need that big play right there. I think Ruggs is the guy you can plug in as your wide receiver 3 and potentially get that huge ceiling. I think he'll also be a popular DFS choice because I don't think he'll be super expensive to start, and he can be that guy that gets you those humongous ceiling type games. So yeah, I love Ruggs right here. All right, we are up at the 110, and Tyler, we are back to you, man. What you got for me at the 110?
I'm going to take my wide receiver 4 here, and that's going to be Jalen Reagor. He landed with the LA Rams for what we're working with here. And
yeah, this is the guy I was debating on, by the way, too.
Yeah, he's super comparable to Henry Ruggs in a lot of aspects, especially when looking at their speed and even like college production. They both kind of left something to be wanted more statistical wise towards the end of their final year in college, but I think they both could end up being better pro receivers than they were in college, which is not always the case.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, I like Reagor as well, and that I kind of figured that was who you were thinking about, Zach, when you were deciding between him and Rose, because I think Reagor's pretty much locked into this back half of the first round. I think Reagor's a great all-round receiver. All right, Eric, we're going to you at the 111. What you got?
So if I'm picking 111, that means the team's in pretty decent shape, and I don't need an immediate contributor, so I'm going to take the first QB here. I'm going to take Tua. The reason being, I think Burrow's a safer pick. I think the Bengals probably have better wide receivers around him. The reason I'm going to take Tua is because the Dolphins, with still a boatload of cap space this year, I think they'll still be in pretty good shape with the cap next year. They have a ton of draft picks in this draft. They already have DeAndre Swift in the mock draft that we're doing. They have another boatload of draft picks next year. I trust Tua in Miami. They don't even need to rush him to play this year. He could really realistically sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick for a year and then come out guns a-blazing in 2021. So I trust Tua a little more in Miami than I do Burrow with Cincinnati. I just don't trust Cincinnati, so I'll take Tua here.
All right, good stuff. I like that a little bit outside the box there, going with the quarterback and going with Tua over Burrow, so good stuff. All right, so I'm on the board now, and I got a couple guys that I'm looking at, pretty much all receivers right now. So Denzel Mims was mocked to the Saints in the first round. Laviska Shenault was mocked to the Packers, also in the first round. And then there's one guy on here that I was a little surprised it got drafted this high because I hadn't been looking at him too much, and I'm really interested in this guy because of where he went. I don't know if I can pull the trigger here in the first round, but KJ Hamler to the Eagles is very interesting to me because we know how bad their receivers are. He got drafted in the second round, which is very high draft capital for a receiver. But I think I'm going to stick to my board here, and my board tells me that Denzel Mims is the guy I'm going to go with here. I think he kind of, blew up at the combine. He made a name for himself there. I don't think he's, taking his foot off the gas since then. I think he's kind of climbed draft board slowly, and I think taking him here, being mocked to the Saints and that high-powered offense, yeah, I know they got Michael Thomas there, and they really haven't had a second receiver opposite of Michael Thomas do much of anything. But I think Denzel Mims, with that speed and that overall ability, I think can be that number 2 and be a good fantasy asset for years to come. So give me Denzel Mims at the 112. And we are back to you, Matt, at the 2-1, kicking off the second round, man. Before we get to that round, let me just recap the first round. So we got the 101, we went CD Lamb. The 102 was Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, and Dobbins went 1, 2, or 2, 3, and 4. The 105 was Jerry Jeudy. I took Cam Akers at the 106, immediately followed by Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the 107. Justin Jefferson, Henry Ruggs, and Jalen Reagor 8 through 10. The first quarterback at 111, and then Denzel Mims to round out the first round at 112. We'll take a quick commercial break, guys. When we come back, we will do the second and third round, so hang tight.
In the unpredictable world of fantasy sports, when all hope seems lost and chaos and confusion rule, one hero will rise. And change everything. Going for 2.com. Because no one remembers the extra point.
Alright guys, welcome back. I'm here with the guys from the Dynasty Draft Room. Ryan, of course, is here, and Tyler Makins from GoingFor2.com. And we just drafted the first round of our rookie mock, and now we are moving into the second round. And Matt, you are on the clock right now. Where are you kicking us off here in the second round here with this rookie mock?
Yeah, Jeff, I'm glad you mentioned KJ Hamler, by the way. I'm a big KJ Hamler fan. I love that landing spot in Philly, especially because they didn't get a wide receiver in the first round here in Zach's mock. But there's another wide receiver I'm considering as well. That's T. Higgins. I think he has no business falling into the second round of rookie drafts. He's my wide receiver 3, so I'm a big T. Higgins fan. But I don't care if it's one QB. Joe Burrow is still on the board, and we got to fix that. So I'm going to take Joe Burrow here at the top of the second round. I think you can take either Burrow or Tua as early as 1-9 this year if you need a quarterback. And I don't love the Bengals, but they have some improvements along the offensive line. They're getting Connor Williams back, who was their first-round pick from last year, but he missed the season because of injury. And he's got a decent amount of weapons there with John Ross. And Tyler Boyd, and of course, Joe Mixon as well. So he actually is stepping into a fairly decent spot, assuming he does land with Cincinnati there.
Yeah, I love that pick actually, and I have the 202 and the 203 in my main dynasty draft, and I'm hoping that one of those quarterbacks do fall there because I may draft one of them, especially with the back-to-back 202 and 203. I'm sure I can get one of them there. So yeah, I love that pick with Joe Burrow kicking us off here in the second round. All right, Ryan, I'm assuming you're still audio. Oh, look, we got Ryan back on video.
I got video. I got one of my cameras to work.
All right. So you're at the
Zach,
202.
I was really hoping Zach would stay on brand and make my decision for me, but I have to take T. Higgins there. I know the landing spot in Houston.
No,
they have. I know Zach did this draft before the trade went down, but we're still sticking with the spot. I think he brings a lot of what they don't have there. Watson likes that big-bodied receiver he can throw the ball up to. He's done it for years with Hopkins. Not saying he's Hopkins at all, but I'm saying he's that big target who he can trust to just put the ball in his vicinity when he has just a bunch of guys who can run far. I think he has a lot of upside to carve out a major, major role in that offense because the other guys aren't volume players, and he could be that for them. And at his floor, he could be what we see out of Mike Williams, but I think he could be a lot better.
Yeah, that's the landing spot. Aside, I think he shouldn't be in the second round. Let's put it that way. I think that he's definitely a first round receiver. The fact that he went to the Texans, with the Texans landing spot, like you said, you mentioned that Zach did this mock before the trade went down. So obviously he was thinking T. Higgins, and instead they get DeAndre Hopkins, who T. Higgins has been kind of comp to anyway. So now they got their T. Higgins, so to speak, with DeAndre Hopkins being there. If they had both of those guys, that offense would be ridiculous, I believe. So I love that pick there at the 202. Great value. All right, Zach, we're going to you at the 203. What you looking at?
All right, man. That was my pick, and I was really hoping you would just let him slide to me here, but it was a good pick, and you leave me in a bit of a pickle here because there's someone that I have as my wide receiver 7, my wide receiver 1 through 6 have been picked already. I know my next running back off the board is going to be able to fall to me with my next pick. So I'm going to stick with the wide receivers here. I'm not going tight end. I'm not going to quarterback with my 2 top quarterbacks picked. So it's one of those things. Do I go with my next highest ranked wide receiver, even though he fell a little bit in the draft, or do I take, a guy like Laviska Shenault who went in the first round? And that's where I'm really struggling. I feel like in this draft class, I'm going to probably start reaching in my fantasy drafts when it comes to like the second or obviously the third round, but the second round, I feel like I'm going to start reaching for some of these guys. And I think I'm going to do that here, and I'm going to take Bryan Edwards, who ended up going to the Detroit Lions at 85. I just love what he brings to the game. He's a big wide receiver that I think runs routes very well and has some really reliable hands. And I think he's got some sneaky speed as well, but I just love his route running ability and his physicality off the line of scrimmage. I think is phenomenal. So give me him here with the 203, and I think he's going to succeed in Detroit across from Kenny Golladay.
Let me ask you, because we had Dr. Ethan Turner on a couple podcasts ago, and we kind of went over some of these injury guys, and Bryan Edwards was on his list of guys to kind of be nervous about. What are your thoughts about the injuries that are kind of racking up with him over, I think he even had a major one in high school. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he did have a major one in high school, and yeah, I'm definitely a little concerned about it. I just, at this point in the draft, I mean, you got to look back at like early rookie drafts too. I mean, how many people at 203 did you draft that you were like, oh man, these guys really stuck? And I think Bryan Edwards is that type of talent that could be a first round type of guy in rookie drafts. But with the injury, without being able to see him test at the combine, without him having a couple full seasons in, and really bad quarterback play as well, I think you're going to see him slip farther than 203. Like I said, I'm reaching a little bit, but I really, really like what he does on film. And landing in Detroit, I think, is a solid spot for him to land. But I definitely agree that you've got to be a little bit concerned with these injuries. But at 203, I'm taking the risk here at a guy that I see on film being one of the better wide receivers in this class.
Yeah, I like that because I like a lot of times this time of year we have that Twitter group think where enough of these mocks have been done and everyone kind of expects certain guys to go in certain places, but at this point in the draft, if you have a guy that you want to go get, just go get him. You know what I mean? There's no guarantee that the guy that's supposed to be the 203. There's no guarantee he's going to be any good. You know what I mean? So go ahead and get your guy. And if that's your guy, Bryan Edwards, then I 100% agree with that. I think you go out and get your guys. All right, moving to the next pick here, and we got Tyler. You are on at the 204. Who are you looking at with the 204?
The guy I'm looking at here, I have ranked a little higher than most other people do, and that's Laviska Shenault. In this mock, he landed with the Packers, which I don't love that landing spot, but as everybody knows, they've needed a wide receiver 2 for a while. I just love his game, what he brings to the table, his ability with the ball in his hands. He looks like a running back. He high points the ball and he's physical, trying to make those plays. So in the second round, I'm willing to take a risk on his medicals.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same question I asked Zack. Are you worried about those injuries? Because he's had quite a few injuries as well.
Yeah, I think he had a labrum tear as a freshman, and from what I can tell, he's recovered well from that and came back well. Turf toe is one of his other injuries, and we've seen that in some other guys that can linger and cause problems throughout their career. But like I said, in round 2, I'm willing to take a chance on him over some of these other guys.
Yeah, I agree. I think the talent's definitely there, and if he can find a way to stay healthy, he's definitely a great value here at the 204. All right, we're at the 205, Eric. What you got for me at the 205?
I got to stay on brand here. It might be a little early. I don't really care. I'm going to take Cole Kmet. In this draft, he landed with the Cowboys. We were talking last night about how we would love to see one of these tight ends land with the Cowboys. I'm not the biggest fan of this tight end class, but that landing spot is a little too juicy for me. Not the biggest fan of Cole Kmet, but there's so much opportunity in Dallas. If he goes right in there, he could find himself being pretty open quite a bit and catching quite a few passes. So, yeah, Cole Kmet, I'll take it 205.
All right, going with tight end in the second round. I like it. That's definitely a little bit off the norm there, so I love it. All right, so I'm up at the 206, and a guy that I mentioned in the first round is still on the board, and I know Matt said he liked him as well. So I'm going to go ahead and take him with this draft capital. Now, honestly, I'm not as high on Hamler, KJ Hamler, as most are, but with this landing spot with the Eagles, I think he jumps up my draft boards. It's a great landing spot, not to mention it was in the second round, so that draft capital is definitely there. So the Eagles, if they take him in the second round, they have to definitely see what something in him as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and just take KJ Hamler here at the 206. All right, Matt. I know you were probably hoping that Hamler fell back to you at the 207 here, Matt. So give me your thoughts on your 207 and what you're gonna do here.
Yeah, I think we brought up a good point earlier in this round. So especially once you start to get into the mid-second round, dude, you got to follow your draft board. And I actually just finished up. I redid my pre-draft rookie rankings today, which are going to go up at Dynasty Draft Room. I have a top 100, so I put this much effort into my board. I got to stick to my board. And a guy that I'm much higher on than most people here, he's my 14th overall player. Zack just completely disrespected him, sending him off the board in the 4th round. And that's Michael Pittman Jr. out of USC, man. I am willing to put my name on Pittman Jr. from this draft class. He's a big boundary guy. He's got subtle speed. He's fantastic at the catch point. I'm a huge fan of Michael Pittman Jr. I'm trying to hype him up as much as I can. And here, I think mid-second is right where you're pretty much going to get him. But I have an early second round kind of rookie mock draft grade on him. So I think I got a great value here.
Good stuff. Now I know you.
I did have him go late, but
go ahead, Zach.
But I know I had him go late, but man, I don't hate him as a prospect. I like him a lot, but I thought you were going somewhere else.
Yeah, no. We'll get there. We'll get there, buddy. I will say too, Jeff. Zach has Michael Pittman Jr. as the second wide receiver Las Vegas takes, because he has Jerry Judy going there in the first, and I love that, dude. If Michael Pittman Jr. can be a really good second wide receiver on a team, that's what you want. Yeah. So it's actually a really good landing spot for him.
Good stuff. Now, I caught your mock draft just recently y'all did on your podcast, and I can't remember. I know you got John Lobb on there. What is John Lobb thoughts on this? I know you and him do a lot of those the rookie profile shows. What is his thoughts on Pittman?
Yeah, dude, me and John are both on the Michael Pittman hype train. I thought I wouldn't find somebody more excited about Michael Pittman, but that John definitely likes him even more than I do, and that's saying a lot. So he's all in. You know what, though, John? I call him the historian of fantasy football. I think because Pittman Sr. played in the NFL, yep. I think John gets excited about him, too. Yep.
So. Yeah, we had John on a couple of podcasts ago, and he always compares – he does his comps, and he goes way back to do his comps sometimes, and some of my audience is like, who's that guy? And I'm like, yeah, John's a historian. You got to go back and Google it, because this guy was a big player a long time ago. All right.
So I love that man. Good dude.
Yeah, John is awesome. We love having John on. He's actually going to be on our 4-hour podcast for the NFL draft, so we're looking forward to that. All right, Ryan, we're back at you at the 208, man. What you got for me at the 208?
208. I'm taking Anthony McFarland. I've been a big proponent of him. I like his explosiveness. I like what he can do in the passing game. He had a big play. I think he's a good dump-off valve who Brady can trust as a receiving back in Tampa, which we really don't have at all. Rojo's hands are a little bit questionable at best. I think he's a nice fill-in guy. He's going to be a rotational player. But if he's that pass-catching back there, that gives him a great floor as a rookie. And his big play potential makes it a lot more than a floor from a game-to-game basis. So I think you can plug him in the flex right away and be completely happy with it and have some upside from there.
Yeah, we've been pretty much hoping that they would draft a running back. The last couple of drafts, it seems, with the Bucs, and I think that's a great landing spot for him for sure in that offense with Brady and – you got Godwin there and Mike Evans and O.J. Howard, and that offense is going to be, pretty good. And I think if he can be, anything from where you're getting him at, if he can do anything at all in fantasy, you're definitely going to be happy for sure. So great pick there. I actually had overlooked him because the Bucs is a sweet landing spot for sure. All right, we are at what are we at? The 208 now? Are we at the 208 yet? Or we just did the 208? I got
209.
209. Yeah, we're at 209 with Zach now. Zach, what you got at the 209?
All right, just a little bit of advice here. Kind of what Matt said. Kind of stick once you get to this point in your rookie drafts here. Follow your draft board and get your guys. Kind of like what I was saying earlier. So my advice here is pay attention to what your league mates are doing. Because now that Ryan went McFarland here, I have one more running back that I think is worthy of being draftable in rookie drafts, especially when it comes to my mock draft here. And that's Zach Moss. I know some guys might not like him very much, but I think he could be that Mark Ingram type of guy once he leaves. Because, Ryan, how many years on that contract does he have left? Is it his last year this year? Or has he got one more after this year?
He has one more after this.
Okay. So I do think that he still can land on that team and be an active member of that roster. For all 16 games. He might not contribute year one, might get a little bit more time year two, but I think year three, this is where you're looking for that upside later on and being that guy that you can kind of have at the back end of your roster and be able to be like, hey, I held on to this guy for this long. He's gonna be the new starting guy. I like Zach Moss. I don't think he's like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, or nothing like that, obviously. But I do think he brings upside with being that physical type of runner. I am worried about his injuries as well. I mean, he got hurt falling out of bed last year. So I mean, there are some injuries, or there are some concerns there with his injuries and whatnot. But I do think he's a very solid running back that can make an impact on a team. And like I said, be a Mark Ingram type of running back. Not tremendous, but a really solid player.
Yeah, that's a good call there. And I think, pre-combine, I think he was closer to the top of the second round. So, that combine kind of killed his draft stock a little bit. But, with this mock draft, the way you got it, being drafted in the third round is pretty high draft capital for him. So, in the Ravens, like you said, a sweet landing spot. They're a running team, obviously. And he can definitely be that Mark Ingram-esque type guy that's going to fill in eventually. So, Zach Moss is great there at the 209. All right, we're at the 210, and we are back to you, Tyler. What you got for me at the 210?
This guy's actually the next guy on my rankings also. I have him sitting at number 17 right now. And this landing spot may actually push him up the board, and that's A.J. Dillon landing with the L.A. Rams. As everybody knows, Todd Gurley's gone. Somebody's got to be the lead back there, and there's nothing saying he can't be the guy. He showed he could catch the ball at the combine. He had over 10 receptions each in college, which isn't a ton, but I think he could take over and have a 3-down role if that's his landing spot.
Yeah, I think going back to mentioning John again, I think John said something on our podcast, and I've heard him say it a few other times too, but just because you didn't catch the ball in college does not mean you can't catch the ball. So there's a good chance that it was just a part of that offense. So maybe he does come in, and I don't think he's ever going to be like a 30, 35, 40 catch guy, but if he can give you 20, 25 catches, I think that'll be good. And in that Rams offense, like you mentioned, I know they kind of struggled a little bit last year because of the offensive line, but I think in that offense there's definitely some high-powered stuff going on there, and he could thrive in that offense. So great pick there with A.J. Dillon. All right, we're at the 211, about to wrap up the second round here. Eric, we're back to you, man. What you got for me at the 211?
So I'm a big believer in Devin Duvernay. I really like the way he plays the game. I think if he just gets into a landing spot that he has an opportunity to ball out, he will. And landing spot that they took Hamler earlier. I'm a big fan of Hamler too, but I mean Duvernay goes to he's likely a top 2 or 3 receiver already on the team. So I think he would break out in a big way if he went to the Eagles. Big fan of that landing spot. I'll take Duvernay at 211.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I actually was looking at him as well because like you mentioned, he went to the Eagles as well. So that's going to be, with that offense, the way that it's set up right now, I think Alshon Jeffrey is coming down to the end there, and I think that combo can be a great combo. KJ Hamler and Duvernay could be a great combo for years to come. So good stuff. All right,
Jeff, I gotta quickly jump in and point point out that
There
Devin
you go.
Duvernay is Dynasty Draft Room approved. 75%
No, he's
of
not.
our podcast hosts
he's
agree
not.
with that. He's a favorite of the podcast.
I think I make up to 25% with Zach.
Yes, sir.
And
Dude,
I got me, John, and Eric, dude. That's all I need. That's all I need.
I had a little back and forth with me, Matt, Jared Wackerly. Who else was in that? Kyle Yates. It was all
Kyle
back and
Yates.
forth, you know,
Zach was the
It
only one and not on the Duvernay train.
And that's fine. I just don't see it with him. I mean, I gave you guys my opinion there, you know, about him being, you know, a stiff player, not very good route runner, blah blah blah, you know. But I really don't see it with him. But that's fine, you know. All right, we'll agree to disagree here.
All right, good stuff, guys. Good stuff. All right, so I'm up at the 112, and y'all pretty much made my decision fairly easy. I was looking at this guy pretty much the whole round to see if he'd be taken. He's still on the board. A great landing spot going to the Colts, and that's Brandon Ayuk. I think the Colts, you know, you got an aging T.Y. Hilton. You got Paris Campbell, who didn't really do much his rookie season except get hurt. I think you got Phillip Rivers going there his first year to help that offense a little bit. I think Ayuk can be that receiver that can come in there and be the wide receiver 2 with Hilton, and then eventually be the wide receiver 1 once Hilton moves on. So give me Brandon Ayuk as the last pick in the second round at 212. All right, real quick though, I want to get Matt. I want to get your thoughts on Ayuk, because I admit it on my show all the time. I'm not a big college guy, and I don't know these guys as well as y'all do. Y'all scout them, you know, for way more than I do. I just look at them once the season's over with. But Matt, I want to get your thoughts on Ayuk a little bit and tell me what you thought of that pick at the 212.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think that's pretty much spot on. I think a lot of people probably would have been surprised that he fell down to 212. I had a really good question in my DMs the other day, and the question was, you know, what makes a player a good NFL player, not a good fantasy football player? And that's kind of where I find Brandon Ayuk to me, dude. I think he's going to contribute on special teams right away, returning kicks. He's explosive. He's just so raw as a wide receiver. I think it's going to take a couple of years for him to really kind of get into a groove at the wide receiver position. So although he's explosive and athletic, he's only really been a wide receiver there at the D1 level for, I believe, a year of full-time work. And so he's really got to kind of refine himself. And I know the NFL's high on him. We're hearing late first, early second for him. But I think 212 in a rookie draft is pretty much spot on.
All right, good stuff. All right, we're moving into the third round, and we're going to do a kind of a lightning round here. We're just going to go really quick, give us your pick, give us their landing spot, and just some quick analysis. And Matt, we're going right back to you. You got the first pick in the third round here, Matt. What are you going with?
You all should be ashamed of yourself. Justin Herbert has fallen to the third round. He is a good quarterback. He deserves to be taken seriously. What are you guys doing? Third round, that's a steal.
All right, good stuff. The 202, Ryan, what you got? I'm sorry, the 302.
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones to the Redskins. I like what they have Terry McLaurin. I don't know if he's really a number one receiver. Peoples-Jones has high upside. He has the athletic traits. He can get up and get it. We've just seen him with some of the most piss-poor quarterback play I've ever seen in my life. He's an upside pick there, and he could turn into a guy who is their top receiver or a 1B at worst. And I'll take that upside there.
All right, good stuff. The 303 going to you, Zack.
Oh man, why'd you put me behind Ryan? He keeps sniping me. Oh man, all right.
We talk too much.
I know, we gotta stop talking. I'm going to take my guy Isaiah Hodgins out of Oregon State to the Pittsburgh Steelers here. I really like what he brings to the game. I think he has a phenomenal double move. I think he creates separation with his shiftiness. Not a great speedster, nothing like that. He's not going to win, you know, with natural separation. He creates it by being that shifty guy in the open field and being able to get open on some really crafty moves, man.
All right. Going to where we at? We're at 304, so we're going to you, Tyler. What you got for me?
I'm going to go with Antonio Gandy Golden here. He landed with the 49ers, and I think he's a great complement, a big body to go along with Deebo Samuel there. All
right, love it. And I think we will go receiver at some point, and if it's if it's one of these big guys like that, I think that'll be a great compliment to what we already have. Obviously, I'm a fan, if you could tell. All right, so we are at the 305, and we are going to you, Eric.
I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Zach, you're a thief of joy sending Antonio Gibson to the Jets. But I will take the chance. I will take Antonio Gibson. I love the way he plays the game, and I'm hoping that Darn falls in love with him. And after they are terrible this year, the Jets yeet Adam Gase into the sun. That's my pick.
All right, you definitely sniped me there. I thought he would fall to me for sure. I was definitely looking at him, so now you got me sort of scrambling here to figure out. I'm looking on your sheet here, and Zach, help me out. Maybe you remember where you drafted this guy too. Darrington Evans, where do you have him going? Because I can't seem to find him on my list here.
I had Darrington Evans going to the 49ers, actually. Your 49ers.
All right, I will take that then. That was the guy I was looking at. He was next on my board. I love Darrington Evans. He showed out at the Combine. I've watched a little bit of film on him, and I think that he would be I know it's a crowded backfield with the 49ers, but I do think that Darrington Evans is going to be a good pick in the third round and eventually could be our running back one once some of those other guys move on. Raheem Mostert's been around the league for a while. He won't be around for too much longer. So give me Darrington Evans at the 206. And Matt, we're back to you at the 307.
All right, I'm just going to give two quick honorable mentions because I can't pick them. We don't have enough picks. But Harrison Bryant to the Seahawks and Hunter Bryant to the Rams. If you're looking for a tight end, I like both of those guys. I won't take a tight end here, though. I'll take Keyshawn Vaughn. Zach sent him to Jacksonville. I'm a big Keyshawn Vaughn fan. I think he produced despite having a horrible offensive line there at Vanderbilt. Really good runner, and I don't think that the Jaguars pay a second contract to Leonard Fournette, so Keyshawn Vaughn will have the keys to drive the car there in a couple of years. So I think that's a really good investment pick.
Yeah, good call. I like that. In the third round, that upside is definitely there for sure. All right, going to the 308, and we're up at you, Ryan. What you got at the 308?
I'm going to take Tyler Johnson to the Ravens. I think he can fill that big slot role for them.
Homer
eventually
pick.
Take over.
Homer pick.
A little bit, and that means I'm not a huge Tyler Johnson guy, but I think he fills in a really good role there. They have that speed on the outside with Hollywood and Boykin, and Snead's kind of on his last leg, especially with that playoff performance and all those drops, put a sour taste in his mouth. I think he's a guy who can play a big slot role. He can bring a little bit different than the other receivers have, and I think he could fill in and get some volume there.
All right, good stuff. Zach, you got the 309.
All right, man, I'm going one of my other guys here. I'm going to go with Quintez Cephas, wide receiver out of Wisconsin. Had a little bit of a off-the-field issue that ended up getting dismissed, so no worries there. I think he's a physical wide receiver who wins at the point of contact. I think he's a very strong player. He reminds me of his best games remind me of Dez Bryant. His worst games remind me of Geronimo Allison. So if I can find somewhere in between there, I think he's going to be a very, very solid wide receiver. And he ended up landing, I want to say with the Giants, inside the top 100 here. So I definitely like that landing spot with them. Pair him with Darius Slayton and that young crew they got over there. I don't know if Matt likes the pick or not. Probably doesn't because I don't think he's a huge Cephas fan. But I personally like the pick a lot. I think it complements what they're trying to do over there very well.
All right.
Do we even know what they're doing over there, though?
Bro, you tell me.
I don't know.
All right.
Was that Gettleman picture real?
What was that?
His draft set. Was the Gettleman draft setup picture real?
Bro, I don't even want to.
That?
Oh, man. I'm waiting. Yeah.
Oh, he had cocoa butter on his desk.
Oh, man. All right, we're going a little bit off the rails here. All right, Tyler, you're up at the 310. What you got?
With the 310 here, I'm going to take a homer pick, and I'm a Mizzou fan, and I'm going to take Albert Oku. We'll just go with Alberto. I'm not going to try it right now. But
Okuwebanam.
Yep.
Show off. All right, great stuff. They're going.
Yeah, but he landed with the Jaguars here, and they have Josh Oliver there, but Alberto's size and speed, if he can learn how to block, he'll be a weapon in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean that combine definitely put him on the map for sure. I think that everybody kind of took notice with him when he ran that 40 times. So good stuff. All right, Eric, we're almost to the end here. Give me who you got at your 311, and don't snipe me again, please.
I won't. You said Hunter Bryant landed with the Rams, correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll take Hunter Bryant with the Rams. They're going to throw a ton, so I'll just take a shot that he's more of a wide receiver than tight end, if anything, so I'm not even worried about that. I think he can make an impact in year one.
All right, good stuff, and you did not snipe me. I got the last pick in the third round, last pick of this mock draft, and I'm going to take a quarterback here, Mr. Jalen Hurts. I think the upside is definitely there. I know he's been compared to some of the guys that have, in the NFL, like Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's that, but if he can be that running quarterback and give you a little bit of fill-in for bye weeks and maybe eventually be a starter for me, I think Hurts is a great pick at the 312 here. All right, before we get to our Forgotten Fantasy Player, I just want to get everybody's thoughts on how this draft went and how they felt they did, if any picks surprised you from other players. Ryan, we'll start with you first. Give me your idea of how you thought you did and what the draft kind of went as.
I like how the draft went. I would have liked to have a little bit more love at running back, but I guess there's not really that much in there. I probably could have took Keyshawn Vaughn's earlier because I like that pick after Zack said it because we don't know how long Fournette will be there. He could have been someone who went earlier. And I really wanted Chenault. I think he was a good fit.
All right, good stuff. What about you, Matt? What are your thoughts on how you did?
I just want to say for the second time this episode, Ryan just called Zack referring to me, and so I feel like he's like my mom, and he doesn't know which one of his sons he's talking to right now.
Yeah.
I feel good about the draft, man. I got to tell you, as I'm going through, I haven't done a ton of mock drafts yet because I've actually just been too busy creating content at this point. But if you're not spending time right now trading for second and third round rookie picks, you're doing it wrong because I'm getting real excited about the guys we're drafting in the second and third round.
Yep, 100% agree. Eric, what are your thoughts?
Well, looking back on it, I screwed up the 205 pick because I thought KJ Hamler was off the board. Wanted to save that till now. So, you're welcome. Other than that, yeah, it went swell. It went swimmingly. Not enough tight ends for my taste, but that's okay.
You're the tight end guy.
We'll leave that alone.
All right, good stuff. Tyler, what are your thoughts on how your draft went?
I think my draft went pretty well overall. Dobbins with the Chiefs at 104 was a great pick. I would say that I had Herbert on my board right after A.J. Dillon, so that was just a matter of just my personal rankings. I hated seeing him fall far. I kind of wish I would have gotten this thing that isn't on my team.
All right, good stuff. And Zach, what you got for your draft? How do you think you did?
I'm pretty happy with my picks here, even though Ryan sniped me twice with the with the Higgins pick and the Donovan Peoples-Jones pick. But I'm really ecstatic to get DeAndre Swift and Henry Ruggs in the first round here, and then going to the second round and getting two of my favorite guys at each position, Brian Edwards and Zach Moss, and then getting two of my favorite Flyers in Isaiah Hodgins and Quintez Cephas. So I'm ecstatic about my 6 picks here.
Good stuff. All right, yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with mine too. I think other than the one pick that I got sniped on Antonio Gibson, I think everybody that I was hoping would fall did fall. I got Cam Akers in the first as well as Denzel Mims. Hamler, like I said, I wasn't super high on Hamler coming in, but where he got drafted kind of rose him for me. So Hamler at the 2-6. Brandon Ayuk with the Colts is a great pick, I think. Darrington Evans, I loved him no matter where his landing spot is. I just think he's an exciting young player. At the 306, he's awesome. And getting the upside of the quarterback position of Jalen Hurts at the end there, I think if he's not, doesn't pan out, I'm not worried about it. I can get rid of him. But if he does pan out, he can be great. So, awesome. All right, so now we're going to get to our favorite segment of the night. And usually we just have one guest on, and we only have one Forgotten Fantasy Player. But tonight we got so many on. I even allowed Ryan to have one. Usually that Ryan doesn't even get to do one either. So let's go ahead and hit the drop here, and then we'll get to that right after the drop.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, then we'll go with the Dynasty Draft Room guys first. And Matt, since you had the 101, you're going to get the last pick of your team. So, Eric, we're going to go with you first. Give me your forgotten fantasy player.
I'm going to go with a homer pick. He was only really fantasy relevant for 2 years, but Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis for the New England Patriots.
Nice.
In 2010, he ran for 1,008 yards and hit 13 touchdowns. I don't know where that would have ranked for running backs that year, but it's got to be at least RB2. So that's something. Law firm.
Definitely pretty good. Awesome. I love it. All right, Zach, what do you got for your forgotten fantasy player?
Yeah, man. So I started playing fantasy football in 2006. I would have been in 6th grade, and I remember in 2009 I took a chance on this guy named Cedric Benson, one of the Cincinnati Bengals players, and he ended up being a stud for me, man. He got like 1,200 yards that year. I don't think he had that many touchdowns, but he was putting up yards like crazy. I remember 3 seasons. It was like 2009 to 2011 where he was just putting up 1,000-yard seasons. Out of those 3 seasons, he's a turd. but give me Cedric Benson here for my forgotten fantasy guy, because those 3 years he was good, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. I like that pick a lot, because actually when we get to my pick, I went with the Bengal as well. So, all right, and pulling up the rear for the Dynasty Draft Room, Matt, who do you got for your forgotten fantasy player?
He is the rear of the Dynasty Draft Room.
I'll take that as a compliment because I think I got a nice one. Anyways. Oh, you know what? I don't really know if I got the premise of this segment down correctly, but y'all remember Eddie Lacy? That was a fun time.
Yes.
And Eddie Lacy, before he got real fat, that was a fun time.
The bowling ball.
Yep.
I remember he went like 3rd overall, man.
I hated him against the Vikings, man. I just could not take watching him just destroy Minnesota.
So I got a funny story about Eddie Lacy. So when I first got into this business, so to speak, it was 2015. I was writing for a site called Roto Writers, and I did a top 12 running backs, and I had Eddie Lacy as my number 1 running back. And I had Typhoon, which I think some of y'all know him. He actually reached out to me. He had me come on his podcast. It was my first podcast ever. And I'm talking to Eddie Lacy as the 101 and you know how he's going to be great. And of course that was the first year he came in. He was just terrible. From there on out, it was like I killed him. My first year into this game, and I killed Eddie Lacy. So, but yeah, great pick. I think Lacy had those 2 pretty good seasons his first 2 years, and then just fell off the map after that. All right, we'll go with you, Tyler. Give us your forgotten fantasy player.
I was also kind of looking at like the first year I played fantasy, and I think the first year I played was 2006. And my tight end on that team was Algie Crumpler.
Nice.
That year he went for 780 yards and 8 touchdowns, and I won a title that year. So I figured that was a fun name to throw out there.
Nice, I like it.
First tight end.
I think that is
on the show.
I think that is the first forgotten tight end. Yep, I think it is, Ryan. We had a quarterbacks hit for the first time a few podcasts ago, but that is our first tight end. So good stuff. All right, Ryan. I know you're excited because you don't get to do these very often, but give me your forgotten fantasy player.
I'm doing this because it's draft time. I'm going with the first player who like made me fall in love with the NFL draft and then broke my heart for becoming a huge bust in the NFL, and that's Peter Warwick. He was one of the most exciting college players I've ever seen. The national championship game, he had 163 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving, a bobbling one to win the game. That was one of the best catches I've ever seen, plus a punt return for a touchdown. He was unstoppable in college, and then he landed in Cincinnati with Achilles Smith. And he never had more than 600 yards.
Wow.
I thought the guy was a star. I had cards galore of him on fantasy teams, and he just took a big old shit. like he's probably my favorite college football player of all time, and he just was one of the biggest busts I've ever remembered, non-quarterback wise.
All right, great stuff. Going with a bust. I don't know if we've ever had like a true bust as far as our forgotten fantasy players, but I love it. All right, so I saved mine for last here, and I've been playing since 1998. I went back to 98 to 99 to see if I can find someone that was forgotten, but pretty much everyone back then was forgotten. If your name wasn't Marshall Faulk, you were probably forgotten, and most of my audience probably wouldn't even know who those guys were. So I came a little bit more recent. I went with a guy that I actually had 3 years in a row, from 2004 to 2006. He had 3 seasons of 1,300 rushing yards or more, 1 season with 1,458. and had 12 touchdowns in all 3 seasons. And that is a running back from the Bengals, Mr. Rudy Johnson. I don't think people realize how good he was those couple of years, and I think that I think Zach, you mentioned your running back. I believe Benson was the one that I think took over for Johnson once he kind of fell off. And Johnson for those 3 years was just an awesome running back. Those yardage totals are just amazing. All right, guys, let's go around the room real quick. Give us your Twitter handle, what you're working on currently, if you're working on any articles or podcasts or whatever you want to mention, whatever you want to plug. We'll go to you first, Matt. What you got?
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at the FF_educator. Me and Zack are doing a 3-day live NFL draft stream. So after you check out Jeff and Ryan on day 1, you can tune into the draft room for days 2 and 3 because we are full-on degenerates when it comes to the draft. I'll also quickly plug the 2020 Fantasy Football Rookie Guide that we have over at DynastyDraftRoom.com. Ryan is a writer on there as well as me, and we have 91 full player profiles on there. It's a really fantastic guide, and you can get it for less than $10. If you get Zach's guide with it as well, you get it for even cheaper, so I'm sure Zach will talk about that.
All right, good stuff. Zach, we'll go ahead and go to you, man. Give us your Twitter handle and what you want to plug.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at NFL_Zack. Matt kind of alluded to it here. If you head over to the DynastyDraftRoom.com, you can find my NFL draft guide. That's $9.99 as well. And then if you purchase it with the fantasy football guide, like Matt said, it's cheaper. So 220 plus prospects in that guide, 330 plus pages of just pure information on the NFL draft. Lots of good stuff there. So if you head over to DynastyDraftRoom.com/NFL draft guide or DynastyDraftRoom.com/ what is your guys'
Fantasy Football Rookie Guide?
Fantasy Football Rookie Guide. You can purchase those too. It's cheap, man. Like there's a lot of information. Our Debbie team, Ryan and Matt included, like these guys put in a ton of work. I love what we're doing over there at the Dynasty Draft Room. Also, we're pushing out team mocks now, scouting reports, fantasy football articles are starting to go out like crazy. It's been a lot of fun, and it's been fun adding to the team because we have a lot of new writers coming on board, and they're doing a lot of good work. So check them out, and make sure you check out DynastyDraftRoom.com.
All right, good stuff. And just going to that rookie guide, I know Ryan's been plugging it in our show a little bit, and it's beyond just the fact that you got a bunch of information packed into that thing. I think also it's very pretty. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I've seen some draft guides where it's basically like an Excel sheet, and it's very boring and very static, and it looks good. I mean, the graphics are great. It's laid out very well, so I think it's a very pretty guide. And definitely the time y'all put in and what y'all are charging for it is just a crime. Go out and get it, guys. It's $10. It's you got to get it. It's an awesome tool.
They did a good job. Mark,
Mark Mathick. Huge shout out to Mark. He did a fantastic job with the graphics.
All right, good stuff.
And we'll be doing updates.
Yes, yep, and it'll get updated after the NFL draft with the landing spot. So nice. that'll be it's all included. So you can get it before the draft. You still get that update for free.
Nice. All right, Eric, as a first-time guest, man, give us your Twitter handle and what you got working on right now.
Well, I'm over there on Twitter at the FF_taters, like the tot, and I'm just right now. I actually haven't told Zach about this idea yet for an article, but I'm planning on doing some of the weirdest names in the draft in an article, because there's just some hilarious, like, you'd think these names came out of Madden, and I'm gonna be having that up pretty soon.
Oh, I can't wait, dude.
Yeah, I'll be there's some doozies. I'll also be on the live draft stream for the Dynasty Draft Room next. I think it's Thursday. 9 days away, gentlemen. I'll be on the day 2 of the draft. I'll be watching you guys on day 1, but I'll be really drunk, and so we'll just deal with that later. On day 2, looking forward. 9 days to I like to call the NFL Draft Christmas, and it's 9 days from the weirdest Christmas in the history of the sport. So.
So I got a funny story real quick, Eric. So when we were first trying to figure out, who their third person was going to be for the Dynasty Draft Room, Zach said, "Let me reach out to Taters." And I was like, do I need to call this guy Taters on my show? 'Cause I don't know if I can do that with a straight face.
No,
I don't know where it came from, man. It was something organic on our podcast.
I couldn't even tell you where it came from. I have no idea.
I just thought we all knew you were Taters. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Zach's just thinking that his first name is Taters.
That's
I don't call him Eric. I call him Taters.
All right, Tyler, give me your Twitter handle and what you're working on right now.
You can find me at TPM_sports. Probably the coolest thing I've worked on for a while. I did a 2020 rookie mock along with all Devy players. It was a 6-round mock, and it was definitely interesting to see where I forgot any Devy name I could think of. Trevor Lawrence went alongside Joe Burrow, and stuff like that. So there were definitely some weird mixes in there that weren't expected, but it's the only one like it I've seen so far. So check it out.
Yeah, it was a pretty cool premise that you did on goingfor2.com, and it got a lot of talk on Twitter of guys, kind of arguing their point, with the Devy guys compared to the rookies this year and where they thought they should fall. It's definitely a great read. It's a very easy read and very easy to follow along. So if you're, looking for Devy guys, or you want to compare the guys coming up in the next couple of drafts to the guys we're drafting this year, it's great. You can catch it at goingfor2.com. It's a great piece for sure, and it's a great idea to do that. All right, Ryan, give us your Twitter handle and what you're working on.
Find me Ryan Stewart, Fox Fantasy FB Connect. Find me the Dynasty Draft Room. I just put out 6 or 7 team rookie mock drafts there. I did why Jalen Hurts fits with the Patriots for going for 2. I have top 10 with ideal landing spots coming out next couple days on going for 2. I might do a couple more team rookie mocks. We have our draft show on Thursday for the first round. I'm popping on with these guys on Friday for day 2, and that's all I can think of for now. I'm fairly busy.
All right, yeah, good stuff. And like I mentioned at the top of the show, we have our draft pack hashtag draft pack 20 contest going on Twitter. So if you mentioned anything at all about any prospect, any draft stuff, any NFL stuff in general, just use hashtag draft pack 20. Every time you use it is an entry into the contest to win free prizes. I mean, how simple is that? I mean, you're going to tweet about it anyway. Just put the hashtag DraftPack20 in there, and you'll be entered to win. Like Ryan mentioned, the 4-hour show that we're going to do on day 1 of the NFL draft is going to be super exciting. And we also have our fantasy draft contest going on. It's $5. Just hit me up in my DMs on Twitter, on Facebook, wherever it is you follow me, and I can get you into that contest. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, for everybody here, for the Dynasty Draft Room, for Tyler, for Ryan, I'm Jeff. We'll see you next time.